Sergeant-at-Arms is about to announce him here. It's part of his responsibility. Here he is. Let's stop and listen to this.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
And now the familiar procedure begins. The President comes in. The politicians reach over, many of them to shake hands with him. He's greeted with applause, both genuine and polite. As I say, some members who wouldn't vote for him on a bet are eager to be seen shaking hands with him. There you see, of course, his family. They're glad to be seen with him. Nina Easton, your thoughts about what can be expected here?
Well, it's interesting, Britt. There's a lot of talk from the White House today about how this is not a speech about his legacy. This is forward-looking, not backward-looking. But I think what we're going to see on domestic policy is an attempt by the president to burnish his credentials, to regain his credentials, both as a fiscal conservative and as a compassionate conservative. I think we're going to see somewhat of a return to the past on this, so that these are the issues that are uppermost in the legacy.
Right. Sometimes you can hear a little bit of what's said here. Let's just pause here and see if we can listen in.
How are you? My research.
I still have a question.
Don't let him do it.
President, I'm doing honorable.
I'm Jackson. All right, my brother. How are you? Good to see you. Nancy, don't forget it.
Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas. She's a Democrat if there ever was one, but she likes to be photographed with the president in that emerald green suit there.
Are you in?
Amen.
Robert, you didn't tell me you were coming. Secretary?
The endorsee and the endorser are there. Some more Kondracki thoughts here?
Well, for sure he's going to push on Congress to get his FISA plan passed, to keep terrorist surveillance going. That's going to be the hardest push he's going to apply. And he's also going to threaten to veto any bill that contains a tax increase. We were told today by White House officials that this is the first time that he's ever issued that broad a veto threat against any tax increase, whatever that Congress might try to pass attached to any bill, whether it's a straightforward tax increase or, like the energy bill last year, a bill containing tax increases of any kind.
Next voice you hear should be that of the Speaker of the House.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
And now the ritual begins all over again as his partisans rise to cheer him, and some of those who are not his partisans rise politely to applaud him. And that's the third handshake he's had with Nancy Pelosi since he reached the podium there. His vice president, of course, always at hand.
Thank you all.
As the official presider over the Senate.
Madam Speaker, Vice President Cheney, members of Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens. 7 years have passed since I first stood before you at this rostrum. In that time, our country has been tested in ways none of us could have imagined. We face hard decisions about peace and war, rising competition in the world economy, and the health and welfare of our citizens. These issues call for vigorous debate, and I think it's fair to say we've answered the call. Yet history will record that amid our differences, we acted with purpose, and together we showed the world the power and resilience of American self-government. All of us were sent to Washington to carry out the people's business. That is the purpose of this body. It is the meaning of our oath. It remains our charge to keep. The actions of the 110th Congress will affect the security and prosperity of our nation long after this session is ended. In this election year, let us show our fellow Americans that we recognize our responsibilities and are determined to meet them. Let us show them that Republicans and Democrats can compete for votes and cooperate for results at the same time. From expanding opportunity to protecting our country, we've made good progress. Yet we have unfinished business before us, and the American people expect us to get it done. In the work ahead, we must be guided by the philosophy that made our nation great. As Americans, we believe in the power of individuals to determine their destiny and shape the course of history. We believe that the most reliable guide for our country is the collective wisdom of ordinary citizens. And so in all we do, we must trust in the ability of free peoples to make wise decisions and empower them to improve their lives for their futures. To build a prosperous future, we must trust people with their own money and empower them to grow our economy. As we meet tonight, our economy is undergoing a period of uncertainty. America has added jobs for a record 52 straight months, but jobs are now growing at a slower pace. Wages are up, but so are prices for food and gas. Exports are rising, but the housing market has declined. At kitchen tables across our country, there is a concern about our economic future. In the long run, Americans can be confident about our economic growth. But in the short run, we can all see that that growth is slowing. So last week, my administration reached agreement with Speaker Pelosi and Republican Leader Boehner on a robust growth package that includes tax relief for individuals and families and incentives for business investment. The temptation will be to load up the bill. That would delay it or derail it, and neither option is acceptable. This is a good agreement that will keep our economy growing and our people working, and this Congress must pass it as soon as possible. We have other work to do on taxes. Unless Congress acts, most of the tax relief we have delivered over the past 7 years will be taken away. Some in Washington argue that letting tax relief expire is not a tax increase. Try explaining that to 116 million American taxpayers who would see their taxes rise by an average of $1,800. Others have said they would personally be happy to pay higher taxes. I welcome their enthusiasm. Pleased to report that the IRS accepts both checks and money orders. Most Americans think their taxes are high enough. With all the other pressures on their finances, American families should not have to worry about the federal government taking a bigger bite out of their paychecks. There's only one way to eliminate this uncertainty: make the tax relief permanent.